Yeah, pictures from New York City. This had started out as a peaceful protest around Columbus Circle with a massive police presence. And as we've heard from the ground in New York City, it has swelled to somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people. Some arrests made, some macing of a number of the agitators as they disobeyed police orders to get off the streets and stay on the sidewalks. At one point, you had this massive crowd packed around Trump Towers, and we don't know whether the crowd is dispersed or if our camera is just trying to go ahead and find a new vantage point. But you get a sense from just that picture that dozens of police officers on one part of one block of New York City, and at some points the police officers were locked arm in arm for entire sections of street in New York, trying to herd the protesters, if you will, as they moved around. It is an incredible moment in American politics, as we've seen violence outside of Donald Trump events, inside Donald Trump events in Chicago and Utah, and obviously we are now seeing these protests again this Saturday. We want to bring in Brendan Bordelon, a National Review reporter who joins us now. Brendan, what we see in New York is interesting. A lot of different groups protesting. We had the Black Lives Matter folks and the anarchists and the communists and everything else. What's happening in Arizona really brings the politics into focus, because you have that incredible divide in Arizona over the issue of immigration. It is a place that Trump really has surged ahead in the polls. Jan Brewer, former governor, has endorsed him. And yet on the other side, you have Bernie Sanders saying, all right, I'm amnesty for everybody, or some version of that. Hey, we're going to move forward with immigration control, some version of that, and that. Give us a sense of what's happening in Arizona and how this is playing out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you laid it out pretty well. I mean, you got two very different constituencies in this one state. There is a very high population of Latinos in the state. Many of them are for immigration reform of some kind, whether that's what you mentioned with Bernie Sanders, full-on amnesty, slightly more watered-down version of Hillary Clinton that she pushes. And then on the other side, yeah, you have not just Jan Brewer, you have Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He's the famous anti-immigrant sheriff. He's got a tent city out there where he keeps migrants who cross the border illegally. So yeah, I mean, I think tensions are extremely high in that state in particular. And it's one thing to protest in New York, right? I mean, this is, as long as you're protesting peacefully, this is their right. They can go to Trump Tower. It's another thing to park your cars in front of a public thoroughfare and block people from going into a rally for their preferred political candidate. I mean, we talk a lot about the potential authoritarianism in the Trump camp, but I think you're seeing some kind of latent authoritarianism starting to spring up in the forces opposing Trump as well, at least those on the left, and that's really concerning.
Brendan, as you look at this, and you are a student of politics, I don't think you were around for the 1968 convention in Chicago when we had violence, but as a student of politics and a student of the history of politics, can you think of a time in American politics where the country was as divided and as angry as it is now?
I mean, certainly not in my lifetime when I've been following politics. And, I came of age during the Bush administration in the Iraq War, when there was a massive protest. There was political violence in the run-up to the war and afterwards. But we're so early now in the primary process. We're about halfway through. We're not even to the general yet. And this is what we're seeing. I mean, Trump hasn't even secured the nomination yet. And you have these left-wing groups coming out, like you said, anarchists, very, I think groups that have a lot of other agendas locally and at the state level that they're trying to push, and they're doing this on this, they're kind of taking this national stage to do it. It is concerning, and I don't see how it helps their cause. Donald Trump thrives on this kind of chaos. Like this is going to be great for him, and his supporters are not going to be somehow cowed by these kinds of things. If anything, they're going to be emboldened, and I think there's a lot of concern for a kind of a feedback loop of violence here, and considering we're only in mid-March, it's kind of scary.